why I started the 30-day sales pro. So I'm gonna kind of dig into my story here. I don't want to spend too much time on, on my story, but just to give you guys an idea of kind of who I am, where I come from, and things that I've done in the past. And as I'm kind of explaining my story, I think it's gonna highly resonate with a lot of you guys that have done a lot of the similar things that I have. But yeah, so for me, just kind of going back, like when I landed my first job, not in sales. I got my first job. I'm working in a grocery store, pushing carts and bagging groceries and things of that nature. That was, gosh, 19, 20 years ago. But when I got my first job, it was kind of exciting, whatever, just being able to make some money. But soon after that, I just kind of started to realize that, like, asking for permission to take breaks, asking permission to take days off, asking permission to take, vacation. It was always about, it was not in my control. And I did not enjoy that. I didn't enjoy not having the freedom to do what I wanted when I wanted. I think I have kind of an issue with authority. I like to do things on my own. I love to go against the grain. It's in my DNA. It's in my personality. Okay. So fast forward, I get my next job. I spent the next 14 years in sales. I got fired from my job of 14 years. I was in a managerial role in sales. My job at that point in time was to build capabilities, teach efficiencies to my sales team, ultimately to drive revenue in the marketplace. I got fired because ultimately I cared about my team, I cared about my environment, and I was always trying to do things to improve the business, improve the atmosphere, improve my team's their living situation, right? Just being able to show up and enjoying their job and what it is that they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So I was doing whatever I could, but when you start doing that, you start stepping on people's toes, management and all that fun stuff. So anyways, I ended up getting fired from that job of 14 years, simply because I called my boss a piece of shit. And it is what it is, like, but that's who I am. I will fight for my team. I will fight for my guys. It's just in my DNA. It's in my blood. But that goes to show that, like, you have very little control, when you're working in that corporate environment. It's like you've got to march to their beat of the drum, and that's not who I am. That's not who, that's not who I am. And so, I found myself just kind of, bumping heads with upper management, and again, it is what it is. But throughout that 14 years, and even going back to my first job, um, I recognized and I realized that, hey, like, the corporate structure and industry is not for me. So therefore, when I turned 18, I've already, started investing in multi-level marketing. I did that for about 5 to 6 years with multiple different companies. And so I was very fascinated with residual income, building a business, being entrepreneurial. That's when I started in the self-help and the personal development years ago. I've done the life insurance. I've done the tax prep. I've done financial services. Like, I've done a lot of different things. I've invested in affiliate marketing, and I've invested into coaching. I spent some time as a life coach, as a transformation coach, and a business and entrepreneurship coach. So I've dabbled in a lot of different things because for me, I didn't feel like I was serving my purpose. I was not fulfilled. Therefore, I was making all these different types of investments to try to figure out what it is that I wanted in life. And so, which led me to high ticket sales. Being in sales for sales for 14 years, generating over $1 million in revenue. For me, the transition was a little bit easier. So the way I got in was I actually made an investment into a high ticket program. And kind of throughout that process, I kind of befriended the guy that closed me, which had contacts and connections to the high ticket sales space. And therefore, I ended up working on that offer, because I met industry requirements. And so that guy ended up bringing me on his team and closed my first deal in the space, like, super excited. It was fun stuff. But it just made me realize, like, holy hell, like, this is actually possible. And so I've been in love with it ever since. And so just kind of fast forwarding here, I ended up, landing multiple offers, this, that, and the other thing. But then I ended up following the same guy. He ended up onboarding me with his recruiting team. So I was representing them, as a business, but then I started representing them in-house as a sales recruiter. And I did that for some time. But that's when I really started to recognize and understand the gaps within the high ticket sales space. Because as my job as a sales recruiter was to post sales opportunities within Facebook groups, connect with these individuals, vet them, right? Get them to fill out the sales, an application, submit their 90-second intro video. And, as time went on with the recruiting aspect of business, I started to, obviously connect with the business owners that, were our clients and do ramp up calls and things of that nature, because, they were going to basically, so we typically would always send over 5 candidates to the business owner. We'd have to hop on a call with the business owner, on a Zoom call with the business owner after they had reviewed the 90-second intro videos. And from that point, the business owner would explain to us, hey, this is why I chose these 2 or 3 candidates for the 30-day probationary period. Here's why I did not choose these guys. And so I started to collect a lot of data, a lot of information, but I started to recognize what business owners were looking for in their sales team. So, from that point, I also started to recognize what a good opportunity looked like versus a poor opportunity, a shitty opportunity that wasn't going to make anybody any money, right? Because we'd have to continuously fulfill for certain types of businesses that weren't working out for the sales team. And, it was just a lot of inconsistencies. So you start to recognize what a good opportunity versus a bad opportunity looks like. But then, to top it off, now I'm having, as a sales recruiter, I was having I was running 25 to 50 interviews on a weekly basis, speaking with newly trained closers, of all sorts, right? Different levels of experience, because my job was to play matchmaker, get you into our system, get you into my pipeline, so that way I can go to work and start, helping you, help finding you or connecting you with a business owner that was looking for a team. So it just got to the point where, having hundreds and thousands of these conversations with aspiring sales pros, newly trained closers that were brought in from the offline world into the online space, that went through a webinar, that went through, a VSL, that went through, ended up investing in a sales training. And it was kind of fascinating listening to, all these, newly trained closers pitch me that they have experience because they went through a sales training program, and they trained with the best. And ultimately, like, that doesn't mean anything to me as a sales recruiter. That's not experience. Experience is, hey, you've got sales experience, like 1 to 5 years, because you were selling something, and you've generated revenue. That's sales experience. Role plays and, who you trained with, that's not experience that business owners are really looking for. So as time went on, I just started recognizing, and I started to understand that 80% of the people that I was speaking with, they were not qualified for a closing role because they did not meet industry requirements. And that was kind of frustrating to me, because as a recruiter, that's how I got paid. I got paid by placing you on a sales opportunity. Well, when most of the opportunities that we are fulfilling for are closing opportunities and not necessarily SDR roles, I'm spending most of my time sifting and filtering out through people that are not qualified, which is 80% of the market. And so when I really figured that out, I was like, holy shit, that's a big issue. That's a huge gap within this space. Like, if I am connecting with all these people, and let's just say 80 to 85% of them are not qualified, that's a big issue, because it's kind of like, not oversaturation, it's not being like oversaturated, but like 80 to 85% of the marketplace is struggling to land a job because they don't meet industry requirements. But through some of these conversations, like, again, my job is to coach you up as, as a sales recruiter, because I want you to get placed. Hey, you need to change this on your 90-second intro video. Hey, this is how you should present yourself. Hey, these are probably questions that you should be asking on your interview, because I want you to do well. I want you to succeed. I want you to land the job so I get paid, right? So I just started asking myself, like, how can I serve this 80 to 85% market, from one aspiring entrepreneur, like trying to find my way, right? Trying to, live life on my own terms. How can I help the 85% that are struggling to find their way into the high ticket sales space? And so that's what I really started gravitating towards. And it turned into my mission. And that's ultimately how and why I started the 30-day sales pro, because the number one issue that I recognized was all these people, 85% do not meet industry requirements. Therefore, the number one thing that they're struggling with is they're struggling to find and land a quality sales role, because no one wants to hire them because they don't have that experience. So the number one issue is people are struggling to find and land a job. So you start to look around in the marketplace, no one's really teaching that stuff. Everyone's teaching sales training, sales training, sales training. Hey, we've got a guaranteed job. We've got placement. We've got a recruiting agency. It's a prop. It's bullshit, right? Because if you don't meet industry requirements, if you don't have that sales experience, it doesn't mean you're going to land a job, especially a closing role. And so, I naturally just gravitated towards it, and it's turned into my mission. How do I help more aspiring entrepreneurs, people that just want to, live life on their own terms, people that just want to make a better life for themselves and their families, right? How can I help you make this transition into high ticket sales in a very genuine and authentic way? Because again, like for me, I feel that you guys have all been pitched a big lie. Did you guys get value through your sales training? Yes. But at the end of the day, like, if you have not generated $1 million in revenue or have little to no sales experience, they should never have pitched you in the beginning. They should have introduced you to becoming an SDR, go through SDR training. But again, think about it. Look across this entire industry. Who is helping people actually make this transition? Newly trained closers, helping them make this transition into high ticket sales. There's not many. There's much more that goes into, getting your foot in the door into the high ticket sales space. And it's not really being taught. There are a lot of minute details that goes into this. And that's my biggest frustration, is that you guys are being pitched and sold on a high ticket sales training program that does not serve you well. Again, because most of you guys are going to go through your training and you're going to struggle to land a job because they did not teach you accordingly. They did not give you a step-by-step system on how to network, where to look, how to find, right, a job. And that's what I focus on. That's why I created the 30-day sales pro. I don't teach sales training. I don't give a shit about sales training. I care about how can I help you become self-sufficient in finding and landing your own quality sales opportunities, so you don't have to rely on anybody else. I teach you how to get your foot in the door. I teach you what to look for in a quality role, sales role. I teach you how to make money as an SDR. Right now, we're going to teach you how to make the transition from the SDR role into a closing role. From a closing role, how do we transition into that A-tier offer where you can make $10, $15, $20 to $40,000 on a monthly basis? This is the stuff that is not being taught. You guys learned one skill set out of, let's just say, 4. Your ability to set appointments, your ability to find and land a quality sales opportunities. I'm not gonna say like mindset is, a skill set, but mindset is ongoing. So, if you want, 8 to 12 weeks of mindset, that's great. But if this is the first time that you ever done any sort of mindset work, like, that's not enough. I've been working on myself for the past 19 years. I would consider I have a pretty rock steady mindset. Is it perfect? Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I still have my own issues? 100%. But it's about continuously growing, improving ourselves. And so, it's ongoing. 10 weeks is not enough. 12 weeks, it's not enough. It's just a start. And so I just want to share that story with you and kind of give you my background, what I've done, what I've invested in, and why I created the 30-day sales pro. So that way you guys have a little bit more understanding of where it is that I'm coming from. And I hope that resonates with you as you have made your investment into that sales training program. And as you start to realize that, hey, you probably weren't taught everything. You weren't given the step-by-step processes or that step-by-step system that's actually going to prepare you and set you up for success within the high ticket space. So that is why I created the 30-day sales pro, as well created this Facebook group for you guys. So that way I can help you guys accelerate your sales journey.